Welcome to the Intentional Fulfillment Podcast, hosted by your one and only Alan Nogier. I'm here to help you improve in every facet of life and teach you everything I've learned on a journey toward fulfillment, whether in health, relationships, spirituality, or finances. On this podcast, I'll be giving you my best advice, trainings, and mindset shifts so you can become the person capable of achieving anything.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Intentional Fulfillment Podcast. My name is Alan Nogier. I am your host today. And today I'm so excited to bring you an awesome human being. She's a coach. She's a dating coach specifically. She's going to teach you a whole bunch of stuff about yourself and about your relationships with others. Her name is Maddie Overstreet, aka Mo.
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. Maddie, tell us about yourself. What do you do?
Hello, world. Thank you for having me. I'm so freaking excited. So what I do, I help women really just fall back in love with themselves so then they can show up more confidently, whether that's in the world or in dating relationships, and just learn how to love themselves. So that is what I do, and I fucking love it.
That's awesome. I love the way you put that. Falling in love with yourself, which it tells me something. It tells me that somewhere along the road, from birth to adulthood, we fell out of love with ourselves.
Yes.
Hard yes.
Yeah. So life is crazy. We all know this. So no one tells you how hard life is. And as you're growing up from like childhood to teenhood, I don't know, adolescence, to like becoming an adult, you like enter the adult world and school doesn't teach you anything. Sorry, not sorry, but school doesn't teach you anything. And then I don't know, some parents may teach you really good life lessons, but the majority of parents, I feel like, don't really know how to have like those hard conversations about the reality of life. And so it's like you're born into life and you are pure and you're perfect. And then you start showing up as yourself. And then what happens is people start taking pieces away from you. And then you don't really know how to love yourself because you're taught so many things and you're thrown so many things like, oh, you have to be this way, you have to look this way. And of course, like men and women have different expectations that the world tells us we have to fall into. And none of it is authentic. None of it is real. It's all a lie. It's all a mask. And the world tries to confide us in whatever it wants us to be when we come into the world with an intention, and to leave it a better place or whatever you believe in. But it's just when you're growing up, you're just thrown so many things. And so you get lost in all the noise that the world gives you and you kind of lose yourself. You forget who you are, like what you like, and just the little things. And so falling in love back with yourself, like you're taught to fall in love with X, Y, and Z, say your partner, and they don't really teach you how to love yourself. So then you can show up in the world as yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I hear that concept of the world conforming, like you trying to conform to the world and living inauthentically.
Yeah.
And I think so many people do struggle with loving themselves because the way they're showing up is not themselves. And how can you love something that you're not, So what is like, how do you even start if you're in this place, in this troublesome place of not knowing who you are? How do you start finding yourself?
Yeah, that's such a great question. The way that you find yourself is, it sounds so cliche, but honestly, being self-aware enough to realize like, whoa, this doesn't feel right. Something's off. What is going on? And just being aware in that energy and in that mindset. And then from there, you can do things, start doing things that bring you joy, that enlighten you, that make you feel good about yourself. So whether that's exercising, changing your diet, hanging out with a different group of friends, maybe excommunicating from certain people in your life, or maybe quitting a job. Just do things that give you liberation. And that's really it. Just do things that give you liberation. Also, I do apologize about my voice. I'm getting over like allergies, so I sound like a croaking frog.
I'm
I'm
sure.
so sorry.
I'm sure everyone
Um,
listening loves it because like it's like from Friends, where Phoebe, she's like, "Oh, when I'm sick, that's when I sing the best because it's like raspy." I don't know what she calls it, something like that. You know what I mean?
yeah. So yeah, I sound really awful, but I just wanted to preface, I'm so sorry, everyone. This is not what I sound like. But yes, just do things that ultimately just bring you joy and make you feel empowered as a human.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, you're a man or
beautiful. Right. Yeah, you specifically focus on women, right?
yes, yes,
So I will say, as a man who has seen your content, it's
yeah,
super applicable. So man, don't count yourself out if you're listening to this, or if you go on our content and you read, because I mean, you know, I know that men also struggle with these things of self-judgment and comparison and judgment
yes,
from the world and trying to mold to something we're not. Even though we have, we also have the extra luxury in the world that maybe women haven't had in the past, which is that men can, like, they don't have to conform as much. So we
right.
grow up learning how to at least be able to break out of conformity. So it's a little easier for men, but still
Yeah,
the deep ones for men, they can be really subtle. And
yeah,
so it's almost harder for men to point it out and do something about it. And so they stay stuck more than women, I think,
yeah.
but tell me, from a woman's perspective, why do you coach women specifically?
Yes. I definitely want to touch back on how men were raised versus women, because I love this question. And this is part of the reason why I started what I'm doing now. But to answer your question, the reason why I solely focus on women is because I know how fucking hard life is.
Mhm.
Um, Life is cold. Life is so, so, so cold. And even though I was blessed to grow up in such a loving environment, in a loving home, in a very supportive, encouraging home, when I entered the world, I didn't realize how brutal it is out here. And so with my journey, like as an adult and being on my own and being independent, I felt very alone because I thought I was very prepared for the world, and it's hard. Like I've been through a lot of hardships. I've been through obviously, like I know what anxiety is, depression, like I've been through hell and back. And so because of my experience, I wanted to help women either avoid it, um, help them cope with whatever they're going through, or just help them remind them who the fuck that they are, which is a queen. And like women do have power and we are such
Mhm.
powerful creatures. And I just want to help other women just remember the empowerment that they do have and just rule their own world, because they do have control. They don't have to listen to the world. They don't have to listen to their parents. They don't have to listen to friends. They don't have to fall into the influence. And like, it's okay if you are not married at the age of 30. Like, it's fine. Like there's so much more to life than what we women are taught, which is to sit in the corner, to not say anything, to smile, look pretty, and look put together all the time. Whenever, like, we're human, we have emotions, we have feelings, we have like wants and desires, and we have passions, and I feel like sometimes we're not treated um in the same way that men are. But with men, I definitely get it, because you guys, I feel like, have a lot of expectations as well, in the sense like you guys have to be strong all the time. You guys can't show emotion when that's not true at all. You guys do have emotion, and it's very appropriate to cry here and there every day if you need to.
Yeah.
But I definitely have sympathy for both men and women. And with my what I do with my business, even though I solely focus on women, I do also want to make it an oasis for men as well, so they can feel heard. And maybe with the message that I'm sharing to the world, it might help open their eyes to understand women better.
Yeah, totally. And I know that when they go to your content, they will. And I know, just speaking as a guy who grew up with only women, like I only had women in my life. I lived with my grandma, my aunt, and my mom. That, it was
I
us
love
three.
that. I
And
love that.
it was really awesome. And I had all the age groups. My aunt was the same age as me. My mom was obviously mom age, and my grandma was grandma age,
Yeah.
And my whole life, I remember from grandma to mom, there were expectations of, oh, this is how a lady is. And from both older women to the younger, daughter, the younger child, my aunt, this is how you have to be, this is how you have to behave. And when it came to me, it was simply as easy as, Alan, you're great. You're the little man. You're perfect. And what a gift that was to me, because I was taught how to self-love my whole life. But
Yes.
women don't have that as much. So I don't know. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So this is I love this so much because I actually made a TikTok video and I got a lot of hate for it, but I don't really care. But what I was saying in the video is that men were taught to be selfish. Women were not taught to be selfish. I got so much hate for saying that and it's funny because most of the guys were the one hating because they didn't understand. They're like, "Oh, we're not selfish." Let me elaborate what I mean when I say that. I think you understand when I say that. So thank you. But men were taught to take care of themselves. Women were taught to nurture everybody else around her besides herself. And I go on in the TikTok video, I made a series, but I go on explaining whenever you are on an airplane and you're about to take off for the flight, the flight attendant always says put your mask on first and then put the other mask on the person next to you if they need assistance. And that's kind of what I'm getting at with men were taught to be selfish, women were not taught to be selfish, is that women were taught to take care, put the mask on the person beside them instead of themselves. And this is where women struggle so much as a grown adult, and even in dating and relationships, is because she's giving so much to her partner that she's losing herself in the relationship because she doesn't know how to love herself. And the moment whenever she's like, wow, I feel empty, that's when she's kind of questioning, where did I go wrong? What do I need to do to continue on showing up for my partner? When in reality, she needs to be okay, what do I need? How can I show up? How can I fill up my own cup instead of my partner's cup? So yeah, women just weren't taught to love themselves. And it definitely shows up in different ways as an adult woman and in partnerships and relationships with other people, because not only does she struggle with showing up with herself and her dating relationships and her partners, but this also shows up in setting boundaries with family members, with friends. This can look like being used by partners. This can look on just being walked all over. This can look like her not being able to voice her opinion or stand up for herself. So it's really dangerous when a woman doesn't know how to love herself, because there's so many negative aspects to it. So yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I love the implication of how you're redefining the word selfish, by what you're trying to say. The reason people, especially guys, might take it personally. If you're a guy listening to this, hear me. If you're a guy who takes this personally, who says guys being raised selfishly is a bad thing. No. What Maddie's saying is it's a great thing. The most selfless thing you can do to really give to others is take care of yourself first. It's a gift. Don't take it personally. Be proud that you were raised to first honor yourself, you know? And what Maddie's saying is women now need to start doing this. And, you know, it's so awesome because, like I said, I grew up with 3 women. And then another little woman was born in my life, which is my little sister, right? She's now 11.
Yeah.
And I realized only recently, like within the last year, that the greatest gift I can give her as a lady who's growing up in this world is the greatest gift is to not place any expectations or condition on the love I give her, right? Like, you're a good girl when you act this way, or when, you know what I mean? And the best gift I can give her is, Aritula, that's her name. I love you, you're perfect. And I'll never be mad at her, because nothing she does in my eyes is wrong. And then how does she respond to that conscious approach that I give her? She responds with pure love, total respect for me. And like, she listens to everything I say. And it's just like, to me, that's proof in action that what women need is not more expectations. It's not like, oh, you need to love yourself. It's love yourself. And then, like, free of expectations.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, because I think that's absolutely amazing that that's how you treat your sister. So I'm applauding you because I love that so much. But what was I gonna say? Oh, yes, in a healthy relationship, in a healthy love, there is freedom. There is not constriction. And I want to talk more about that, but I also want to go back to what I was saying, like men were taught to be selfish. So this is honestly a blessing in disguise for men, because they're able to make a decision and not feel bad or guilty or feel like they owe someone something. So if a guy is just like, oh, hey man, I'm gonna go home for the night, or hey, yeah, no, I'm not really feeling doing this or whatever, versus a woman, she's gonna be like, oh my God, who's gonna be mad at me? Who's like, she's gonna analyze every single thing about her decision and how it's going to impact the people around her. And this is where she starts showing up for everybody but herself. But anyway, guys, you guys are super lucky to be able to really like care about the impression or the consequences with your decision, if that makes sense. But yes, in love, there is freedom. And so whenever you get into a relationship, you are attracted to your partner because of how they authentically showed up to you. And then what couples find is that they start dating and they're like, oh, okay, well, I would really like it if my partner would change in this way and be more like this, and maybe not do this so much. And they just start nagging at who that person is. There's nothing wrong with growing and evolving with your partner. It's the moment when you want to mold them into what you want. That's when there's like an issue. Because in love, there is freedom. There's no constriction, because you are allowing that person to express themselves as themselves instead of changing them for what you want. That's really important, is just to allow your partner to breathe, which of course that kind of goes back to like trust and communication and reassurance and yeah, that stuff in relationships.
Do you think that people, like what you just said, has a lot to do with like the initial butterflies of why people fall in love? And then why maybe, like what you said, that they start building a list of things to change, and that's what almost self-sabotagingly puts them out of love?
Yes. Okay, so the butterflies you get whenever you meet someone is actually a trigger your body is trying to give you to not fall for that person. So that's actually a body response where your intuition is just like, hey, run.
Why so? Why?
I don't know. This is something that I've been researching, and it makes so much sense because whenever I personally look back on my life and every single time where I've had the butterflies for someone, that relationship never worked for me. So I will definitely be researching more and come back with an answer for that. But yeah,
Yes.
it's the physical body and emotion like response trying to tell you like, no, this person's not for you. Just keep going. Um, but what was your question again? Please repeat it.
I totally forgot it, but I want to ask you a question on what you just said. That's totally fine. We're just going to go with the flow.
Okay.
I'm curious about that butterfly concept that it's, you know, because for me, it's if whether I had them or whether I didn't, I also see it as an emotional stimulus, an
Yeah.
emotional
Yeah.
reaction. And
Yeah.
I know that I do not react to my emotions because then I'm being triggered and I'm susceptible to them, right? But what I find interesting is, as speaking personally, you know, like I've dug deep and I've understood that I tend to be an avoidant person,
Okay.
right? So
Okay.
I know that if I feel butterflies and I say that's like my sign to step back, I will if I do that, I will always step back,
Yeah.
right? So how do you balance like not giving into the reaction of your butterflies, but also not being so self-aware that you shouldn't
Yeah.
react, and thus you like almost like I pull away. You know what I mean? What's
Yeah.
a balance? That's a hard one.
I love this question. So I think what it comes down to is your intuition and your ego. Your intuition and your ego are two different things. And so your intuition is your shield in life. It will protect you. It will guide you to your purpose, whatever. It'll guide you to all the good things. It'll protect you from all the bad things. So whenever you walk into your room and you're like, yeah, something's off here, I'm going to leave, that is your intuition trying to protect you from whatever could possibly happen. Your ego is going to be the one that will tell you, stay in this relationship, even though he's using you. Stay in this relationship, even if he's not treating you the way that you know that you deserve. Stay in this relationship because you see his potential. Your ego is going to feed you all these lies. And so whenever you first meet someone, I think it's really important to like not track, but see how you feel after you hang out with them. Does your energy feel low? Do you feel drained? Or do you feel like excited and happy? And then move forward with if you guys should continue or not. But I think whenever you feel nervous around someone or you get those butterflies, I don't, that's more, I think, like your nervous system, like, I don't really know
Mm-hmm.
what to do, you know? And so it might be like linked with your intuition. Again, I just have to do more research on that. But I
Yeah.
think learning, and this comes with like loving yourself and like knowing yourself and learning what you need and how you need it. But again, it's just being self-aware enough to know the difference, and know yourself with your intuition when it's speaking to you, and your ego and how it speaks to you, and learning the language of your intuition and being able to follow through with it
Yeah. I
and
love
being in
that.
harmony. Yeah, and being in harmony with all three.
Totally. I kind of want to take the conversation into understanding the ego a little bit more, and then maybe we can kind of sidetrack into conditional versus unconditional love, because
Okay.
I think ego and conditional love are so heavily linked,
Yeah.
because the way we, you know, show up through our ego is usually the reason that we place conditional love on others, you know, and that's why relationships are like mirrors, you know,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah, we talked about that last time, so you know we'll dive deep here and you know, on that same topic. But tell me, what, like, based on how you understand it, you know, what is the ego? Like, what is that thing? How does it work? How does it hold us back? What is it trying to do? Why does it exist?
Yeah, my personal impression of the ego is kind of like our own devil in our head. The intuition is kind of like the angel on our shoulder, right? You have the angel and the devil. Your ego is going to make you, how do I say this? It's kind of going to pull you away from who you are authentically and make you think that you're better than what you really are. I don't really know how to explain it other than, because it doesn't really like make you selfish. It doesn't, I think it just kind of misleads you to like, it misleads you from being centered with yourself. So again, like I was saying, your ego will kind of give you these lies in your head, and you need to be able to differentiate between the truth and a lie with yourself. It sounds really complicated, but it's really not that complicated. So like a way that I could put it is, say that a woman is staying in a relationship because she can see the potential in her partner. That is her ego feeding her, because in a relationship, you don't want to stay with someone who isn't really doing anything to live in their purpose, because that's kind of a form of settling. Maybe she's being used by her partner, but her ego is like, it's okay, he loves you, but he's not showing up for me. I'm only showing up for him. That's her ego telling her to stay, whenever her intuition is like, sis, you need to get out of this relationship. There is someone so much better down the road. You just need to leave. So it's like your ego will trap you and make you think certain things, whenever your intuition will try to give you the freedom that life is trying to provide for you.
Yeah.
Like all the good, like blessings or whatever you want to call it. I don't know if any of this makes sense, because it is. It's not complicated.
Well, yeah.
It kind of is complicated.
If you haven't dove into the topic, it can be complicated. So for any like listener speaking, I guess, from my understanding, based on what you said, there was something you said there, that really simplified it in this way. Ego is simply you seeking validation. And why do we seek validation? Because we don't feel good enough within ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's why the foundation of what you teach is like we talked about, it's like self-love, all that stuff. And it's like, I think what you said was, the ego tells us to stay in the relationship because he loves us. That because is the ego justifying why you stay, because he loves you. And thus you are trying to justify why you are validated. And that's all the ego ever is. It's just you validating you and finding proof of it in the world. You feel, you know what I mean?
Yes. Thank you for like,
yes.
that into English, because yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And your intuition will, you already feel validated within yourself. You're not looking for exterior validations, because it's like when you're listening to your ego, you're trying to prove yourself something. Whenever your intuition is just like, you are enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when we go back to the conversation that we just had about men and women and how they're raised, you can see how that external factor that women grow up with, that men don't have to grow up with. Right? It's just not to say that women are ego driven and men are not, because men, we have our own egos that we have to conquer, right? And that's the ego. I'm speaking as a man here who like knows what that pain is for men. And hopefully women listening, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I never realized that. But that's my man, whether it's my man or the men in my life, that's their pain. And it's the expectation that a man is not enough just as he is, but that he is only enough if he can financially provide.
Yes.
that is secretly, guys, if you just heard that, you might question it or doubt it the first time you hear it, but when you really dig deep, that's almost every man's deepest, darkest pain. And when you're with a partner who places, because I see it all the time, like a female partner who places that condition on their man, and you can't just show up in the relationship like, you're whole, you're perfect, I love you just for who you are, and that's it. Not financial, not resources, just be present with who they are. That's a man's, like, that's your partner's greatest gift as a woman, right? But now, what is it for men to women? What can men do for women? Because I don't know. I mean, I like to think I know, but I don't know. You tell me from a female perspective, what is it that you would like,
Yeah. So women want two things in a relationship. It is to feel secure in the relationship, and it is to feel safe in the relationship. So they want to feel emotionally safe. They want to feel secure that she's the only one her partner looks at, that she's everything that he needs, both physically, emotionally, whatever. So feeling safe and secure in a relationship is everything to a woman, because we are taught as a child that we are not enough, which then leads us to seeking exterior validations from other people. You're beautiful. I'm trying to think of like all the ones. Oh, you look nice today. Like, women most of their compliments are going to be based on their looks. And the thing is like, women don't want to be noticed just for their looks. Women want to be noticed for how smart they are, how genuine they are, how kind they are. Like, women want to be seen more than what's on the outside, and women tend to get brushed off to the side in that sense, especially with like CEOs or business or in a workplace. I remember when I sold cars, and there was 3 women out of, I think there was like 10 of us or 9 of us, 3 women who sold cars. And it's just the dynamic of the workplace. Like, women are just as talented as men. Yes, both men and women have different strengths and weaknesses when it comes to dating or in the business world, but it doesn't mean that we can't learn how to work together in that sense, which I feel like is totally like sidetracking right now. But to go back to your question, women just want to feel safe and secure. And the way that this can show up differently for each woman and like what she's gone through, like traumatically. So some women will need reassurance from her partner, especially if she's feeling insecure or if she has anxiety. So yeah, there's different ways that her partner can fulfill or support her in a time of weakness, or in a moment of weakness. So yes, just feeling safe and secure. So that's really interesting though. I knew that men had the expectation to be able to provide for a family, but I didn't know that like financially provide. I'm really curious to like hear that side.
Yeah, just to like, because I can see how maybe some people listening would be like, who maybe might be a little bit more traditional or even not that traditional. Like, I'm not super traditional, but I still feel that inner self that does want to provide as a man. And the distinguishment is not that we can't. I'm not saying that it's bad to do that. Like, what I'm saying is to place love conditionally on that point. So like, being with a partner and having that partner see you with eyes that love you, because, and I guess I possibly know this from experience, but like, see you with eyes, not because they love you for who you are, but because you provide, or because you're a certain way, or because, and like any because, like nobody wants any form of because. So identify what it is in your life, like that I love you because. And when you, and I think of the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Chapter 1 is never judge anyone.
Yes.
Right? And literally when you say I love you because, right? That because is in your mind, right? In the back of your mind. When you say I love you because, the implication is that you're judging your whatever relationship, any person, you're judging them for not being that, right? And thus we have conditional love, right? So according to you, what would, like, because I know we talked about this last time when we spoke, unconditional love. Tell me about that. How does I don't know, like, tell me about your version of that.
Unconditional love is one of the most powerful choices and actions, if you want to put it in like a physical sense, that you could give somebody else. And the way that I could best explain it is, whenever you love someone, you are choosing to love the person as an entire whole, spirit, human, flaws, and all. And you are telling them that I love you for who you are, where you are at in life, and where you are going. And I'm going to support you all the way. And I think that is incredible. Like, that is a very selfless thing to do and a decision to make consciously, subconsciously, because you are accepting that person. And what is the one thing that everybody wants? We all want to be accepted.
Yes.
For who we are. That's it.
Unconditional love right there. That's it.
Yeah. And so to be able to find a partner who sees you, who sees your heart, who understands your mind, who understands what you've been through, who respects your past, who respects your boundaries, and again, just sees you, your soul, and chooses to love you completely, no matter where you've been, and is there to hold you in all the moments of life, is incredible.
Yeah.
So that is, if you and your partner share that, that's incredible. Hold on to your partner forever, because that is a very rare type of love. And so being able to not only give that to someone, but also receive it in your partner is cool.
Totally. The words that there's like a few words throughout this whole podcast that just like, they just ring to me right now. And it's safety, freedom,
yes,
and you know, like, they all stem from unconditional love. That's all we all want: acceptance, safety within ourselves, right? And distinguish when you're seeking it outside in externalities that don't actually matter, right? All you really want is safety within yourself. And what is safety within yourself but simply unconditional love? To be loved by others unconditionally, free of expectation or judgment, and to be loved by yourself, which is the foundation of your coaching, right? So let me ask you, because I know that we both agree that in order to give unconditional love, you have to first have self-love, right?
Yes.
How do you build self-love? How the heck do you start that process? Someone listening, how do they start that?
Hi, you can find me on IG at
yes.
Maddie Mo.
Yes. That's literally step one. Literally, people.
Anyway, personal shout out.
Yes.
The way that you can start loving yourself and falling back in love with yourself, or starting your self-love journey, is to, it's going to be really ugly, I'm going to be honest with you, but you have to face your fears, you have to face your traumas, you have to face your limiting beliefs that you have on yourself. And once you acknowledge all of that and you're like, okay, these do not define who I am, and you come to peace with that, you let go, you leave it in the past, because again, you are not constricted by your past, and you choose to love yourself as as who you are, where you are again, and where you're going. So you are really accepting yourself after you've worked on all of that. And you're like, okay, yeah, I've been through a lot of shit and I love myself for it. And then you're able to then like move forward and prepare for the future, whatever you're wanting in your future. But to start on your self-love journey is to face the ugly parts of who you are first. So then you can see the good and the light. And there's like this quote that I heard and I really liked it, but it's something there's a quote that goes like, without light there is darkness, or darkness without light. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I mean, yeah, the duality
Okay.
concept that one cannot exist without the other.
Yes. And so I also heard this quote that like when you go outside at night, you're able to see the stars. So even though you are surrounded in darkness, you are still able to see the light. And so with your healing journey, even if you're sitting in your darkness, there is still good. And you can still reach the good. And so I just think that's a really beautiful concept.
Yeah, totally.
And now a quick word from today's sponsor. And today this episode is brought to you by your one and only, that's right, that's me, Alan Nogier's very own book. It's called Intentionally Fulfilled. Now this book is all about becoming intentional toward a life that you love. It's about becoming fulfilled. I help you do this through an actionable process of manifesting your greatest reality that you can implement as you're reading the book. On this journey, you're going to discover an insane amount of spiritual undertones, understanding of the egoic godlike complex, how your finances, relationships, your health, how it all ties together so that you can become intentional in every aspect of your life. And I promise when you're done reading this book, you will not be the same person. Now, if you're enjoying this podcast, go ahead and find this book on Amazon, either on paperback or Kindle version by typing in Intentionally Fulfilled or by typing in my name, Alan Nogier. I hope you get a chance to read it, and if you do, it would mean the world to me if you left me a review. Now let's go ahead and get back to the episode.
And you know, it's interesting because when you're sitting in the dark, if you feel totally alone or totally dark, or like you think you don't see the light.
Yeah.
It's just like you said, it is there. You were born perfect, free of all expectations. Like you only learned expectations because they were taught to you and you started to learn language and then people told you, right? But you were born perfect. So guess what? You already are perfect right now at the age of 24, 55, 72, whatever age you are, you're still perfect. You just don't perceive your perfection because you think you're in the dark. When in reality, the stars are shining all up inside you, you know, like you already are perfect. And I love that on your Instagram, you say it a lot in your stories. You often say you're perfect, you're whole, you know, you're abundant. And I find that to be the greatest gift that a person can hear. Obviously, you know, I say that because I tell my sister that, but I say it on my Snapchat, on my Instagram, on any story platform that I can share that with. That's like my favorite message, because when you feel like you're whole, that's when you feel like you can like embody any direction of life that you want and know that you will be totally whole in that space or that space or that space.
Yes.
There's no such thing as wrong anymore. There's just right, you know?
Yes. And I think that's kind of how we get lost while we're growing up, is because we're held to like all of these expectations, when in reality, the most powerful version of ourself is to be ourself. And until we go to like the own beat of our drums, that is when we are going to be the most successful in our life, because we are living in our purpose and our passion.
Totally.
And there was a quote that kind of goes with this, but it said, winners were just losers who didn't quit. And I feel like that relates to on your self-love journey. Self-love it's not easy. It's not the prettiest thing that you're going to go through in life. It's not easy breezy, beautiful. There's gonna be a lot of tears and crying and like, oh my God, I hate myself. But when you get to the end result, you learn so much about yourself, resulting in so much appreciation for everything in life. And like, that's your story. And now you can go and like share and you can connect with other humans who have gone through similar hells, or maybe you are inspiring someone else who really needed to hear that today. So I think the cycle of life is just really pretty, even though it's hard. It's blessing in disguise. It's just, I don't know, it's art. It's just a
Yeah,
canvas. And yeah, it's really beautiful. All of it's just really beautiful.
it really is. And you remind me of the Buddhist mantra, which I often say on this podcast because I love Buddhism. But it's that life is suffering, you know, and
Yeah.
it's not a pessimistic view. It's not a pessimistic view at all. Life is suffering, and that is beautiful. That is where meaning exists, and that is where you can perceive beauty,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. 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 And this is what I try to tell my audience whenever um I try to tell them that like in the darkness is when I appreciate the light. So like say if I'm having a bad day, or for example, I've been under the weather for a couple of days, but because I was in the darkness, or because I was facing something hard for me, or because I was sick, I had an appreciation for the good days. I had more appreciation for life. I had more appreciation for, so for example, like in dating, even though I've been through hell and back with my ex-partners, because of those relationships, I have that much more appreciation for my present partner, for my future partner. I have more appreciation for myself and how I was able to do X, Y, and Z in this relationship, stand up for myself, whatever it was. So, like in hell, like I have more appreciation in my growth and for the sweeter things that life gives you. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally. And I love that every relationship you've had has been that learning experience, so that you haven't, victimized yourself as this happened to me, but this happened for me, and now I'm better because of it. Because when you become that better self-loving individual, guess what? Like when you show up to that future person, like every time I talk about dating or relationships, or like I kind of self-talk about it, because you know we all want to find that person. But I
Yeah.
often tell myself, you know what, Alan, like why there's no rush to finding that person, because that person is not ready for you yet. And you are not ready for them. You still have a journey of self-love. And guess what?
Yeah.
The longer, honestly, I savor the moment, because the longer I live in developing my self-love, then I'm that much more of a conscious being when I enter that relationship. And two people that are highly conscious can create a highly conscious relationship. If you have one ultra conscious person and the other person isn't there, or they've jumped into a relationship too fast because they think that's what they want, when really what they want is self-love, well then guess what, that you're just going to suffer. A conscious relationship, like you defined it earlier, you said like when you said that relationship, like that kind of relationship is super rare.
Yeah.
It's super rare because I think people don't work as individuals to be the kind of person that can create that relationship. And it takes two people to create that. You know what I mean?
Yes, you have hit a lot of really good points, and there's a couple of things. So, I don't know if like how spiritual people are, like the listeners or you, but
Hit
in the
them with
Bible,
it.
in the Bible, it actually talks about you have to be equally yoked with whoever you marry, which it makes freaking sense. And this is what you're saying is like if you are not on the same level, if you and your partner do not see eye to eye in morals, values, beliefs, how you want to raise your children, whatever, the relationship is not going to work. And what people do is like, it's fine, we don't agree on, or we don't see eye to eye on this, but you know what, let's keep on fighting for the relationship. Let's have a kid, let's bring a child on top of this relationship that isn't working. And so that is why it is so crucial to be so freaking picky with your partner. Have expectations, have standards, make them meet you with what you want. So then you can have a forever, happily ever after relationship, partnership, marriage. Another thing that you were talking about is literally embodying the partner that you want. And I teach this to my clients because there are so many women and men, I'm sure, but there are so many women who struggle thinking they are not deserving, they are not worthy of getting their dream man, which stems from lack of self-love, which is okay. It's okay. There's hope. But in order to attract your ideal partner, you need to embody that ideal partner. So if you want a man that is successful, has money, is fit, is like 6'5" with, I don't know, 5 trophies. I don't know. I'm just kidding. Whatever it is, like, you become successful.
Yeah.
You start living the life that he lives, which is literally like manifesting your future, which is creating your future in all the ways. So you can this by changing your schedule. So how does your schedule look with your future partner? What time do you get up? What kind of foods do you eat? Where do you shop at? What are the affirmations? How's your self-dialogue going? Like, there's so, like, you need to embody every single form that you can as a human, so then you can create your reality into your dream life. And that is the secret, folks. You just got it for free.
Yes. The secret to everything in life, literally.
Yeah. You have to physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, financially embody every single freaking thing that you want in your life so you can have it. I'm out.
Beautifully said. That is literally so perfectly said. Like, I think it's such a trap in the world to say I want something that's unrealistically not you, because we see it, we see other people have that, and it's like, I am not that, yet for some reason I idealize that I want that, and then you have this contradiction where and that's where you start to feel like you're not enough, because you want something but you're not embodying that, and you're like, I'm unworthy, right? So there's 2 options: either become realistic or remain optimistic and do something about it, take initiative and become that person, right? I would preferably go for that one. Become that person. But there's no expectation to achieve that high if that's not you, you're perfect as you are, So it's like one of the 2 has to change, right? And I also want to point out something you said, because it almost sounds, I want to point out, every time I've ever heard someone say, oh, that's hypocritical, I think in my head, no, there's nothing. Whenever someone says a hypocrisy, really what they're stating is a paradox. And there's truth in hypocrisy. And we can call it just a paradox, that there's truth on both sides. It's that this person's in the middle and they're not an extremist and they understand both perspectives, right? And what you said, that was a paradox. And I want us to dive just a little bit in there, because I want people to understand when it applies to one situation and when it applies to another. You had mentioned, because I think both are so powerful, you had mentioned, this whole time we've been talking about not setting expectations and conditional love. But when you're starting, like when you're looking for your partner, set expectations. Yes, it's important, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think if you set high expectations early on, you set yourself into a relationship that can be like totally safe to not set expectations that weren't met at the beginning, And then you know, that then creates the friction and all that stuff. It's like, set the expectation early on, find what you want, know what you want, and identify the levels, right, which you're on and that you want your partner to be on, right? Make them the same, make that expectation, you know, within yourself and for your partner. And then guess what? Now you have power to create and flow within your relationship, right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to point that out, because I don't want people to think like, oh, when, you know, like, when is this a time where I should be, you know, have an expectation, or is this a time? The answer, I would say most of the time you shouldn't have an expectation, but at the beginning, set them high. Set them high, baby.
So I love that you brought this up, and this is awesome, because so many women feel bad about setting boundaries, setting expectations, setting standards. They feel guilty for raising their standards. Why? Like, sis, if you want to be with an incredible man, you're going to have to get through some shitty ones in order to find him. And another way to look at it is like, how much do you love yourself? Why are you going to put yourself through? Why are you going to deal with? Why are you going to spend your time, your energy, your emotions, your body on a man who does not respect you, a man who doesn't treat you the way that you want or you're deserving of? Like, why are you putting up with that? Because ultimately that is reflecting on how you view yourself and how much love you have for yourself. Because if you love yourself, you're going to say, oh, hell no. You're going to say, fuck this. Like, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve to be treated like this. He's clearly not honoring me the way that I deserve to be honored. He's not honoring boundaries. He's not honoring my body. You know, like, however he's treating you, you are aware that he's not what you need. So like, why are you settling in that aspect? Sis, like, have more respect for yourself, love yourself more, and say, no, like, this is not serving me. I'm going to close this door and I'm going to open a new one and make space and time for someone who is more deserving of my time, my energy, my body, etc. Because he's out there. It's a matter of making space for people who are deserving of your time and your emotions and your body, all the things. Another thing that you mentioned is whenever you are starting to embody like your ideal partner and everything, well, maybe I already touched this, but yes, setting the standard and setting the tone for what you're looking for is very appropriate. Be as picky as you want, because if you're not being picky, you're going to settle for the pigs. You're going to settle for the peasants. You know, you're not you're
Have
not
more
gonna
self-love than that, everyone. Yes, totally. Yeah. I love this. I love this connection. Self-love leads to self-worth, and self-worth in whatever you're channeling that in equals your manifested reality. Like, if you believe you're worth a certain financial amount, well, then guess what? You're going to embody that worth and you're going to go manifest it. And by manifest, I don't mean some magical process, although it's so magical when you really dig deep. But manifest in the sense that when you embody that self-worth, your mind is looking for all the actions in which to prove you right. And then you take those actions, and then guess what happens? A result. And that result is that manifested reality. Money, whatever you want, money, the right relationship, the right body, the right health, whatever it is. And it starts with your self-love. When you know, as a business coach, it's so cool. I love speaking to coaches, because you're a dating coach. I'm a business coach. People think we coach two totally different things, but in truth, it's all the same. It's all self-love. It's all the same. It's just how you channel that self-love once you have it. Step one, anytime I coach my clients, it's helping them understand their self-love, their highest values, living in their values that allow them to feel authentic and self-loving. And now we channel. Now I channel as a business coach. Now you channel as a dating coach. now you channel as a personal trainer, whatever it is, so coaches listening out there, if you're not self-love teaching, then start doing it. Right?
Yes. So this is why, ladies and gentlemen, why loving yourself is so crucial. Like, this is not a joke.
It's not.
It's so freaking crucial, because how you think about yourself, how you feel about yourself is going to manifest into your reality. You are a radio tower. Everything that you are exposing into the world, whether that's emotions, thoughts, how you speak, that is what your reality is going to be.
Yes.
And there's so many people out there, they're like, Mo, why isn't this working for me? Mo, why do I keep running into the same men? It's like, well, sweetie, who are you surrounding yourself with? How do you view yourself? How do you feel about yourself? What can you do to change? What can you do to level up? Are you ready to level up? Are you tired of settling? If so, make these changes. So that is why, like, your reality it starts with yourself. You literally, life is a video game and you are the controller. So win. Go.
Yes, go win, everybody. I love that. I want to touch on this last topic here, because this is such a great conversation. I want to let the audience go live their life and do their things, go manifest. But the last thing I kind of want to ask is, like, because we've talked about everything leading up to the manifestation. But what about once you, like, for those people who are highly advanced, you're already there, you're already in that perfect relationship that you love your partner, right? You're in there, and you know that this is the person you want to be with. And there's still some, like, there's some struggles, right?
Okay.
How do you create a genuinely conscious relationship? What needs to happen? Like,
Yeah. Great question. It really depends what the struggle is, and how much it is aligned or unaligned. I think that's a word. Not aligning with you. So if it's aligning with you, it is something you can work out. If it is not aligning with what you believe, who you are, I would look at the relationship and have a really hard conversation. But yeah, obviously talk with your partner about it. I think it just really depends on what the issue is. But yeah, just communicate with your partner. You have to be, honesty is so important in a relationship. You have to not only be honest with your partner, but you need to be honest with yourself.
Yes.
The amount of times that I've been in a relationship and I'm like, damn, I know I need to leave. And this is where my intuition and my ego are coming in. My intuition is just like, Mo, it's time to leave. Honor yourself enough to leave this relationship, even if I don't understand why. My ego is the one that's just like, hey, Mo, like, obviously this relationship isn't working. It's not going to go where you're wanting it to, or you're not getting X, Y, and Z. That is my ego trying to tell me to stay in the relationship that is not going to fulfill me or fill my cup or serve me the way that I need to be served. So I think it's really, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, everything you just said reminds me of something I heard from Will Smith. And I admire the relationship that they had, Will and Jade Smith, just based on what I've heard. Yeah, right. But they did it so beautifully, because they honored what each individual was feeling. They didn't lie to themselves and they didn't lie to each other. And they honorably and respectably honored each other. And they knew, like, this is not authentic. So let's part ways. And that's what what the most loving thing you could do is that right there. Honor yourself and honor your partner, right? If that is the case, right? I want to ask you, just to give them parting actionable items, right? What is the thing that the audience can do, that small little thing that they can start doing to start building self-love, besides follow you on Instagram? Maddie Mo 08.
Yes, Maddie Mo, MADDIEMO8.
There we go. Besides that, what can they do?
I love this. This is so, I love it. I love it. Okay, so what you can do, ladies and gentlemen, is become more aware and change how you talk to yourself, your self-dialogue. That is a huge key to how your reality is going to be, how your day-to-day is going to be, how you talk to yourself. So if you look at yourself, if you're at work and you're, in the bathroom and you're like washing your hands, please tell me, y'all, wash your hands. But if you're like in the bathroom and you're about to, go back to work and you like look at yourself and you're like, wow, this shirt makes you look really fat. Wow, that's like really hard on yourself. So you can the way that you talk to yourself, it needs to be loving and positive affirmations. And even if you don't believe them at first, at least you are rewiring yourself and you're helping yourself appreciate who you are. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. No one's perfect. We all have our things that we don't like about ourselves, but it's about training your mind, training your emotions, and learning about yourself and how you can love yourself in all the ways as a human. So my answer is the way that you talk to yourself is the key.
Yes.
And of course, if you need me I'm on Instagram.
Yes, and that. Well, Maddie, this conversation was so stellar. I know everybody listening loved it. Just absolutely thank you so much for being here.
Thank
really
you.
It.
It's my honor. You're amazing. And I'm so happy that we were able to connect and find each other. So
yeah.
How fun, how exciting.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Next time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maddie. And everybody screenshot this, share this on your Instagram feed, or share it with someone who needs to hear this, to find self-love within themselves, to build a nurturing relationship with their partner, whatever it might be. Share this with someone. So thank you guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did find it super valuable and you want to share it with the world, make sure to screenshot, post, and tag me on Instagram so I can see what you're up to and we can connect more. And to get notified on the next episode with me, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or wherever you listen. Now get out there, do great things, be a decent human, and I will see you next time.